Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Reimagine Productivity. And this is the program where we talk about everything to do with productivity. How do you become a better you? How do you go from where you are today to being that better person you want to be? Today, we're looking at a very important topic. We're talking about potential. We're talking about principles and the practice of it. You see, over time, we found out that so many people have dreams and very fantastic dreams. But what's stepping between the dream and reality are the steps that you take. And one of the things that we put out there in the promo, we talked about the possibilities. Who or what is defining the boundaries of your imagination? Think about that. How far are you thinking? How wide are you thinking? How deep are you thinking? So many people have always thought, I cannot do this, I cannot achieve these things I want to achieve. But guess what? You can. All you need to do is to follow tried and tested principles, and that will get you where you want to go. This evening, I am super excited with the guests that we've got here. There was a time many, many years back, there was a men's program that was being held, and he was one of the key people holding that men's program. And I was thinking, wow, one day maybe when I grow up, will be like this person doing all this work, and how they were getting men together, getting people to join these programs where they will be the better them, and they would hear words that would transform their lives. And he's got one of his books that he wrote. I've got it on the shelf here. I think it was 26 Big Ideas or something like that. It's on the shelf here. Maybe I'll get it at some point to show you that book. And I'm not going to take too much of our time this evening. It's a great pleasure, a great honor to have Colin Tomlin with us this evening. Colin is an author, he's a publisher, he's a course creator, and really, if you want to hear words that will, you know, here it's all about practical stuff, right? How do you get that thing from where you are now to where you need to be? And that's why we've got Colin on the program this evening. Colin, you are welcome to the program.
Hey, Akin. So excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know you're super busy and there's a lot going on, but thank you for making that time to be here this evening.
Pleasure. Absolutely a pleasure.
Excellent. So today I want to start this conversation. We're talking about potential, we're talking about
Yeah.
possibilities, we're talking about practice. Now,
Hmm.
when we say potential, talk us through this. For some of us, I was having a chat with my son the other day, and I said,
Yeah.
I never loved chemistry, but I loved physics. And when you're
Yeah.
talking about energy and all that, potential energy, kinetic energy, please, what does potential really mean to us in this day and age?
Well, let's go back a little bit. We are both people of faith, and we believe that there is a creator who created every single human being, and what that creator has done is imbued every single human being with purpose, every single human being with the potential to be and to do something here on planet Earth. And finding our potential is really about finding that thing. It's about finding that purpose. It's about becoming the person that we were created to be. So that essentially is potential in a nutshell.
Excellent, excellent. Now,
Mm.
someone may say to you that, okay, yep, I hear this thing about potential a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And yes, as a person of faith, that is what potential means in the context of faith. Um,
Yeah.
but for particularly for faith people,
Mm.
how do you and those where we say we're Christians, right? How do you take that journey from where you are today and really truly discover that
Yeah,
potential that you've got in you? How do you take that journey?
yeah. You know, I think I've been in church for pretty much all my life. I've been a leader within a church context for actually about 25 years. Um, and I, I, I don't know why, as church people, we like to separate what we call the sacred and the secular. We are one people, and our potential encompasses everything about us. So it's not a case of I, I'm I have a potential when it comes to the things that are sacred, and I have another potential when it comes to the things that are secular. We are one people. God didn't make us with schizophrenia, where we behave one way in one context and another way in another context. We are one people. Um, and I came across a guy. His name is David
Wow.
Copperrider, or David Cooper Rider, rather. And he had this fantastic quote which just resonated with me. And he said, the lives we create is very much dependent on the questions we ask. And when it comes to potential, it is all about starting with some profound questions. And one of those profound questions is why? Why am I here? Why am I alive? Why do I exist? And, I loved what you said at the start, that we ask wide and deep questions, or we talk about wide and deep things. And you can't get deeper than starting with, why am I here on planet Earth? And I really believe that when somebody starts to ask that question, that's when the potential starts to come alive. That's when the quest to find that potential becomes alive. We really believe that there are three key steps in someone finding their true potential. And not just finding it, because finding it is one thing, you've got to live it out. And when I get up in the morning, I want to have breakfast, like we all do. I don't go to my kettle and say to my kettle, "Can you do me some toast?" I don't go to my toaster and say to my toaster, "Can you do me some water for my tea?" So it's about understanding the very purpose for which we were created. And, no one can do that as well as our creator. He's the one who's imbued us and created us with everything that we have locked inside of us. So it behoves us to actually go and ask, my creator, we call him Lord, some people call him Father, some people call him Daddy, some people call him Jesus, whatever you call him, it's, why am I here? And that's where the quest really, really starts.
Okay, so for someone who says,
Mm-hmm,
I understand what you're saying, that the
mm-hmm,
quest starts with going back to the maker. But that
mm-hmm.
person may say, but I've been in church for so long, I've been within the faith context for so long, I've been
Yeah,
hearing these messages for so long, but something somewhere just is missing, right?
yeah.
What
Okay.
do you say to that type of person?
Again, don't confuse going to church with going to God.
Ooh.
The
Oh,
two are
wait.
crazy.
Don't confuse going to
Going to
church.
church with going to God.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Wow.
going to church is great. As Christians, we're not mandated, commanded, whatever you want to call it, but there are benefits of being part of a faith community. And our scripture tells us, don't forget the assembling of the saints. However, going to God is a completely different thing. We go to church for community, we go to church for great preaching, we go to church to serve, but we go to God to build relationship. Yeah. And there is nothing more powerful than your creator having a one-to-one relationship with you and explaining to you why he created you and what he's imbued you with, what he's loaded you with, and what he's put you here on earth to do. That, church should be a catalyst for that. But going to church doesn't provide that. Going to God and having that one-to-one relationship with him, that's what starts that quest. So it speaks to your very existence. And that's where you really start to understand your full potential. So, asking your father, your creator, about purpose, it speaks to the meaning of your life. It speaks to why I'm here. And then that should really excite you to ask the
Wow.
next question, because when you understand why you are here on earth, you then start seeing certain things, you then start having certain ideas, you then start having thoughts about what that could be, and then you start asking yourself, why not? And that's where possibility starts. Why
Wow.
not? Why
Wow.
can't, I understand my existence, I understand why I'm here, I believe my father, I believe everything he said, you know why not? And then that starts talking about possibility, and then that's what creates expectation.
Wow. So possibility creates
Mm-hmm.
expectation, or your knowledge
Possible.
of possible of
your
what is
your
possible
Yeah,
creates
your knowledge of
expectation.
what you are here for, your purpose, is what contributes to the idea of what's possible, and
Wow.
that's what drives those expectations.
But
So,
when we talk about possibility,
mhm,
there's something I hear a lot.
mhm,
People like us, like me, coming from
mhm,
Africa, and people have
mhm,
said, well, you know what, infrastructure is not there, it's not working,
mhm,
we're disadvantaged. Doesn't that
mhm.
limit possibility in a sense? And how do you talk about possibilities to someone who
Yeah,
feels like, what can I take from the environment? How do you discuss possibility there?
I'm reading a book at the moment. In fact, it's right here with me. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and in it, the author Dale Carnegie talks about this Scotsman. I'm trying to remember his name, but he ended up being one of the wealthiest oil barons of the 19th century. And he was born in poverty in Scotland. And it's somebody that we know. If I say the name, you'll know exactly who I mean. Um, and he was somebody who was born in poverty, but he saw himself doing more. He saw himself doing great things, and he started his quest, and he understood his purpose, and he started asking himself, why not? And that created expectations. Yeah, it's all about perspective. Let me tell you a story. There's a story of two shoe salesmen who left the shores of the UK in the 1900s to the so-called New World in search of opportunity. The first salesman, he got to the New World at that time, of course, 1900s. So he stepped off the boat in a port, and once he disembarked, he looked around. He spent a week there, looked around, and then when he got back to the hotel, he sent a telegram back to base, and it said, "Situation hopeless. They don't wear shoes here." Yeah. Now, the management of the company, wanting to have a second opinion, decided to send somebody else. This other salesman, he got to the same spot, spent exactly the same time, a whole week, and then at the end of that, he went back to the hotel and sent a telegram back to base, and it said, "Glorious opportunity. They don't wear shoes here." They saw exactly the same thing and came to a completely different conclusion. Why?
Okay. What
Perspective.
drives that? Okay. Okay. So
Perspective.
how do we get that perspective that lets us we're going to talk about something you're
No
doing,
worries.
the 21
No
book
worries. No
challenge,
worries.
but
Yeah.
that thing perspective, what
Yeah.
influences that for us?
Perspective, I really believe, is influenced by your understanding of identity, your understanding of who you are. You know, if you watch or listen or engage with anything that we do here at Experience Growth, you will hear us talk about three things and three things repeatedly. Number one, discovering identity. Number two, defining intent. And number three, delivering impact. Those three things flow together, and you can never deliver real impact without defining what you are doing intentionally, and therefore, and also beneath that, understanding your identity, who you are, and why you exist. And that goes back to purpose and possibilities.
Wow. So
Yeah.
say now we've had uh, uh, perspective dealt with. We've
Yeah.
something has happened there. Our mind is now starting to see things differently, right? So
Absolutely.
we're on this journey, right? We're now starting to
Yeah.
see things differently, and that different way of viewing it. And you know, there's something I want to
Yeah.
touch on here before we
Yeah.
start to delve deeper, and that
Hmm.
is what impact has faith in that journey of getting there, not seeing anything that you could really point to, but then you still think, oh, there's an opportunity here.
Absolutely. It's about seeing not through the eyes of circumstances, but seeing through the eyes of potential. Yeah. It is likely that the first guy, when he got there, all he wanted to do was sell shoes. So he wanted a quick buck. He wanted a quick opportunity. The second guy, he had a different, deeper, wider, more expansive agenda. He wanted to protect feet. And so, from the eyes of protecting feet, from the perspective of protecting feet, he saw the opportunity. Yeah. Whereas the first guy, from the eyes of just selling shoes, making a quick buck, he didn't see any opportunity. The situation to him was completely hopeless.
Wow. Wow. All
Mhm.
right. So this is getting quite interesting for me now.
Good.
Oh
That's
my
very
my
good.
my
That's very good.
my. All right. So
Okay.
now I've got that fit thing sorted. I've got my
Yeah.
perspective sorted. Even if I'm thrown into a situation where I don't know what to do, I don't know what's going on. As long as I can
Yeah.
fix my perspective, there would always be
Hmm.
something that can drive me to
Absolutely.
that greater
Absolutely.
place.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Let me, in fact, let me just unpack that whole perspective thing a little bit,
Go ahead.
if I may.
Go ahead.
Um,
Go ahead.
you know, our perspective is really made up of three key things: our philosophy, which is our belief system; our paradigm, which is our thinking system or thinking patterns; and our principles, which is our value system. And here's how it works out. Your philosophy says to you, or dictates to you, that you see what you believe you will see. You know, in the scriptures, we talk about in Genesis where Moses sent the 12 spies out, and 10 of those spies came back and they said, hey, situation hopeless. This thing is over. Those guys are massive. They are big. They will defeat us. They will make shish kebab of us. Yeah. Caleb and Joshua, I believe, came back and they said something else. They said, actually, we can do it. This land is flowing with milk and honey. It is ours. We can do it. They had a different perspective. Yeah. They believed that the one who rescued them from Egypt, the one who sent them to find the promised land, the one who promised them that they would get into the promised land, they believed what he said. And because of that, they saw what they believed they would see. So that's how our philosophy or our belief system works out. Then, of course, there's your paradigm or your thinking patterns. And that says to you, that dictates to you that you will see what you think you will see. Yeah. And then, of course, there's your principles. That says to you or dictates to you, you will see what you value seeing. Let me give you an example. Have you ever decided to buy a new car or a new coat? You decide on the make and the model, and then all of a sudden, everywhere you go, you see that color, you see that model. Why? You've put that thing into your value system. And
Wow.
so all of a sudden, you see what you value seeing. That's how that works out.
Oh my my my. Oh my. All right. Let's
Okay.
let's start to unpack this thing
Yes.
you've called your 21 book challenge, and
Yes.
talk us through how that works, and what that is about. And I know you've got about nine or so steps, and listen, we want to hear what those things are. So it's
No
a free
worries. No
session
worries.
for people who are watching this. It's a free session for them.
No worries. The framework is separate to the 21 books challenge, but I'll talk about the 21 books challenge and then go into the framework. You know, the 21 books challenge is about helping us. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We have spent a whole year being on lockdown physically, but I think for many of us, we're on lockdown emotionally. We're on lockdown in terms of our vision. We're on lockdown in terms of our purpose. And many of us can't see a future beyond now. And the 21 Books Challenge is about helping us to create the right heart state, mindset, and action steps to go out there and embrace the challenges, make use of the opportunities, and create completely new possibilities. And it's about us understanding who we are. And, in terms of, we talked earlier about defining or discovering identity, defining intent, and delivering impact. Those three things come from your heart state, your mindset, and your action steps. In other words, when you have the right heart state, you will be set up to be able to discover identity. When you have the right mindset, you will be set up to be able to define your intent. And when you have the right action steps, when you embrace doing something, when you embrace taking action, you will be in the right place to deliver impact. And I think as believers, as Christians, as people of faith, we're really good at the first thing in terms of getting our heart state right. Most of us getting our heart state right. But, somehow we don't follow through with the mindset piece and the action piece because very often our belief is our God will do it. And when we abdicate that responsibility to God, we therefore don't want to do anything. And God is saying, no, that's not how this thing is set up. You have been given agency here on earth. You have to do. I give you vision. I, imbue you with talents, abilities, giftings, and skill. You have to do. I remember when I heard the first time that God didn't create trees. Sorry, God didn't create chairs. He gave us trees. And there is something that we need to do to transform that tree into a chair. We have got the raw materials outside of us and inside of us to create what we see within us.
Let me ask you this question. You raise a very good point there.
Yeah,
in the church community, where you said we deal with the heart state, but we don't follow through with the mindset and the actions.
action.
How big a
Absolutely.
problem is that?
It is a massive problem. I see so many of our brothers and sisters, good people, great hearts, love God. They would literally die for their faith. That's how committed they are. So these aren't shallow people, but they have a mindset that says, God will do it.
Wow.
And they believe that God will literally come down from heaven and do it for them. Now, God being omnipotent, omniscient, he can do it if he chooses to. But the way this thing was set up, he works in partnership with us. And we have to do. So if there's something in this world that we don't like, it is absolutely right that we start by praying to our Father and say, Lord, give me a word or a vision or an understanding of what this situation is. But the prayer shouldn't stop there. It should be, give me the mindset to get up and do. Give me the action steps that I need to walk into.
Wow. Wow. That is
Mm,
so amazing. Just the simplicity of it. That
mm,
if we could just get that practical step that says, don't just wait and think it. God is just always going to show up with some
mhm.
miraculous thing, which He does from time to time,
Which he
right?
does.
Absolutely. But if only we could get up and start to do that bit, we're going to see an
Yeah,
explosion of dreams, ideas, and
absolutely.
all sorts of
Absolutely.
visions. Wow. Wow.
There is nothing more miraculous than God putting vision in somebody's heart. I
Wow.
mean, I love this quote by Nelson Mandela, someone, an African leader who I have looked to for years and who I admire. The quote he has, which I just love it. It says, "It always seems impossible until it's done."
Wow.
You know, here is a man who spent 26 years in a cell in prison. Most of that time in a tiny cell on Robben Island. And within that small, harsh, confined, despicable, disgraceful environment, he still had a vision for a new South Africa. I would argue that he had more freedom than a lot of people who were outside of jail because he had a vision in his heart which he nurtured. And because he was a man of faith, he was a person of faith, he understood that the one who placed that vision in his heart would do whatever was necessary to make that vision come to pass. He simply had to play
Wow.
his part. And if that meant enduring 26 years of a harsh, horrible, disgraceful, despicable confinement, that's what he did. And here's the thing,
Wow.
we admire him and remember him and revere him as a great leader. And we celebrate the fact that he came out of prison and became the president. Yeah. There's another guy like that in scripture. His name is Joseph. You know, these are people who have a clear understanding as to why they were created, and they trusted God, and God came through. So, in that context, God will do it, but we have to do our part in working in alignment within the vision and within the purpose and with the heavenly perspective. I don't know if that answers your question, because I'm really trying not to preach here. I want to make it practical for people. We talked about
Wow. Oh my. You have just, oh my, you have just blown
Let me take a drink.
out our minds. Oh dear me, dear me, dear me. Wow. Oh my. It's just hitting me again that if we just took that step to get into working on the mind, working on our dreams, imagine where the
Absolutely.
world would be today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow, wow. Now, I want to hear about your
Mm.
framework. You've got a framework that
Absolutely.
you talk
Absolutely.
about.
Absolutely.
And I want to hear about that framework. So
No
please,
worries.
go on, tell us about this.
No worries. You know, the framework, I call it the Divine Nine. And I call it the Divine Nine for two reasons. Number one, it rhymes and it's easily embedded. But the more important reason why I call it the Divine Nine is I believe it's a heavenly blueprint for us understanding our potential, understanding what's possible, and being able to deliver stuff in practice. You know, the challenge sometimes is taking the high level stuff and make it work on a day-to-day basis. And you know, as you might see, the Divine Nine is all starts in asking questions. You know, remember I said a quote earlier on about the quality of the lives we live is dependent on the quality of the questions we ask. And I really believe these are nine profound questions. And of course, I talked earlier on about why. And why is a question of purpose. It's a question that leads us to understand our existence. The next question is why not? That's a question of possibility.
Let me
And
ask you a
that's
question
what,
there, Colin.
of course, of
On
course.
the why you talk about there, how
Hmm.
difficult is it to find an answer to that why? I know you talked about going to,
Of
going
course,
to
of
God
course.
and all of that, but how difficult is it for the people who are struggling and say, look,
Mm,
I'm trying to go to God, but I still don't know what this why is.
yeah.
What would you tell them to do?
I'll tell them to really look at what they're passionate about. I've got a wonderful wife called Judy, and we will be watching something on telly, and she sees instances of injustice, and she gets all excited, and she gets upset. You know, she sometimes goes in tears, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm just watching a show. It's not a big deal. And that begins to allude to what's important to her. So become a student of yourself and understand what's important to you. That will begin to give you an understanding and a a lens or a viewpoint as to what's important to you. Because usually it's all about other people's pains, problems, or our past that gives us an understanding of what we're about. Yeah. And within that lies
Wow.
purpose.
Well, other people's pains
Pains, problems, and past
and past.
experiences. Mm.
Wow. All right. Oh dear. I'm
Mhm.
going to have to listen to this over and over
That's
again.
okay, my brother. That's okay. You know,
Oh dear
you
me.
ask away.
Oh wow. All
Um,
right. Let's go
so
to the
sorry.
why not. The why
Yeah.
not. Let's go to
Mhm.
that.
So the why not is having understood, okay, this is what I'm about. You then start formulating a solution, and your solution might sound absolutely ridiculous. I am sure that to Nelson Mandela, the thought of a free South Africa where, you know, black people weren't second class citizens at the time was absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure when he shared it with his nearest and dearest, they were like, "What on earth are you talking about? Things are the way they are." But then he started asking himself, "Why not? Why not? Why can't there be something different? Why can't there be a free and fair nation where everybody is a citizen of this place and not a second class citizen?" Martin Luther King had the same thing. You know, uh, I have a dream. That dream that he shared was him answering the question, why not? Then you have, let's move it from civil rights and bring it into business. You had people like Bill Gates, and you have people uh, like I'm trying to remember his name. Sorry, Mr. Apple, um,
Steve Jobs.
uh, Steve Jobs, uh, and they had a why not, which was ridiculous. You know, uh, Bill Gates's why not was, I actually want to see a desktop, a computer on every desk in America. Why not?
Wow.
Steve Jobs was, hey, I want to build this thing that has thousands of songs in your pocket. Why not? And so within that, that led to the next question: who am I? And then that who starts to drive, it's a question of a picture, and it starts to drive their exposure. So they started exposing themselves to new opportunities, to new possibilities, to new challenges, to so that this picture could become clearer and clearer and clearer. And that is where I believe identity is formed. That's where you discover identity, when you start unpacking why not, and who am I? Who am I? And that's where you start to discover your identity. Um, and that then leads to another set of questions where you start to define your intent. And that's about what and who with, and also how. Yeah. I'll unpack that. Who with is about partnerships. And that's when you start to expand your vision. So Nelson Mandela hooked up with Walter Sisulu. He hooked up with Bishop Desmond Tutu, and they started expanding their individual visions through a powerful partnership. So when they when they got to the stage now where they started asking themselves, what is it that we're creating? Yeah, they then had something better than if they did it individually. Yeah. Bill Gates, he had
Wait,
Paul
wait,
Allen.
wait. Sorry. Let me ask a question here, because that point you raised there actually
Mhm.
bothers me quite a bit.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's where do you draw the line between a vision, a dream that you
Mhm.
have, where you need to crystallize that thing, versus, well, you better be part of us. If you're not part of us, it's not going to work, and all those kind of
Mhm.
things. Because I hear a lot of that, a lot, where
Yeah.
people maybe are starting businesses, and it almost feels like, well, you want to go and do that. If you're not here with us, it's not going to work. Where do you draw that line of now, it, I need people, and when you
Mm.
get those people, how do you engage them in a way that you don't actually lose the essence of the vision you
Mm.
had before you met them?
Yeah. Within a personal context, it boils down to principles and values. Within a corporate context, it boils down to culture, which is really the principles and values of that organization. Yeah. Let me explain it. Um, Back in 2016, we started a new school, and in 2018, we ended up closing that school because we realized that there were plenty of challenges And when we boiled the challenges down at a partnership level, we had three directors or partners, and at that level, there was not a consistency of values. We didn't have the same value system. And because we didn't have the same value system, it effectively was a different vision that we were pursuing. So the painful and costly lesson that we learned, Judy and I, was whenever you are embarking on a partnership, make sure that there is a consistency of values. What is important to you? What is important to us? Because that's what starts to set the culture of the organization. And then whenever people come into that context of the organization, they can decide whether they want to embrace that value, those values or principles or the culture of the organization or not. But that's what really separates people in terms of that. That's what really glues a partnership together, a coming together of values, from my values to our values. And you know, there's partnership is a powerful thing, but it can also be a destructive thing if it's not done in the right way. You know, what was that saying? I think it's a scripture as well. A city divided cannot stand,
Absolutely.
whereas a city united can do great things. And so
I
I
have a
hope that answers
question
that
there.
question. Of course,
Yes,
of
but I
course.
have a follow-on question there,
Hmm.
because when we talk about this thing about the vision, you don't want it to be broken. You don't want it to be divided.
Yeah.
There's this story someone once said, where they were, a ship was going somewhere, or a boat, just so we can conceptualize it better.
Hmm.
And there would be a leak, and they would patch that with another piece
Hmm.
of wood. And bit by
Hmm.
bit, they changed every piece of wood in the boat. And by
Hmm.
the time they got to the end, they still got there in a boat. But somebody was
Hmm.
now asking the question, did they get there in the same boat that they started off with?
I love that. Here's the thing. It really doesn't matter whether it was the same boat or a different boat. What mattered was the direction they were headed. What
Ooh.
mattered was the purpose for which they were on that boat in the first place. What mattered was the picture they had at the end point, and what mattered was the culture and the principles and the value systems within that boat. So they did whatever they needed to do to keep that boat moving in the right direction. And so, in a true sense,
Wow.
that's the beauty of purpose. That is the beauty of understanding why we're doing what we're doing. Because, hey,
Wow.
if I'm heading to Birmingham and I'm driving halfway down the A14 and the car decides, oh my gosh, I don't want to go any further and it breaks down. It doesn't matter. I'll call a taxi and go on the journey. And when that taxi, if he decides I don't want to go any further than the city center, no problem. I'll jump on a bus. So I will do whatever is necessary to get to the final destination. And so, in that sense, it actually doesn't matter whether it's the same boat or a different boat. What matters is keeping on the journey.
Oh
I
my
hope that answers
goodness.
that.
Oh my goodness. It does. You were talking about defining intent. And
Intent.
I keep interrupting you because
No, no,
th-
no, no. It's all good. It's all good.
these are solid points that you're dropping here. Wow. All right. Intent. Continue on your point on intent.
So that when you start to define your intent, you're essentially asking who with, what, and how. Who with in terms of the partnerships that I talked about, what in terms of your product or your platform, Um, you know, people don't buy ideas; they buy concepts. They buy products. So when someone buys an iPad or an iPhone, they are actually buying Steve Jobs' purpose, his picture, his possibilities, but it's in the form of a product. And I think very often we, as people who want to be entrepreneurs, people who want to get into the market, we talk, but people don't buy talk; they buy products. So you've got to get to the point where you look at the pains, you look at the problems, you look at the past, and you say, you know what? There is a product that's a solution to that. And then you conceptualize and you build this thing and make it tangible with clear benefits, with clear features that someone can say, if I do A, B, C, and D, this will work. So now, we take it as read that when we uh, plug into an iPad or an iPhone, we got thousands of songs. We take it for granted. But I have to confess, when that thing just came out, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing ever. I'm like, huh? How is that even possible? I am glad to say I ate my words, because when I got the very first iPad, as it was then, or iPod as it was, I fell in love with the thing. And then
Wow.
when Steve said, "Oh, we're going to do the iPad," I thought, where is he going with this oversized phone? It's ridiculous. It's not going to catch on. It doesn't work. I've had a few of them. So so put it like this. The guy was able to take his ideas, he was able to take his understanding of who he was or who he is, his understanding of what's possible, and make it tangible by defining his intent. He built a team, a set of partners. Um, you know, you had the two Steves. You had Steve Jobs and you had the other guy. I'm trying to remember his name. Um, Steve Jobs' partner. He was the real technical genius.
Yeah.
So they partnered together and they built this product, and then they issued it to the world. That was defining intent, but they couldn't have defined their intent without discovering their identity.
You
I
know,
hope that kind of answers.
it does, but I once had someone say that um, the richest place in the world is the cemetery,
Mm,
uh, because there are so many dead dreams, dead ideas, dead visions in that cemetery that
mhm.
people never actualized. And as you
Yeah.
were speaking on that last point, something struck me there, that
Mm,
the number of dreams that may have collapsed just
mm,
because somebody did not wait a little longer to overcome that hurdle of people
yeah.
laughing at them. And the way
Mhm.
I put it is this, that between when you start your walk of faith and
Yes.
you get to the end of your walk of faith, there is something that's sometimes called the walk of shame.
Mm,
And that walk of shame is when people are laughing at your idea, is when people are
mhm.
telling you it's not possible, it's nonsense. How are you going to achieve that? But there's
Mm.
a question I have for you here.
Of course.
When do you know that, my friend, this walk of shame is a real walk of shame? You better
Mm.
listen and adjust. How do you know that?
You know that from the minute you really understand who you are. As I said at the very start, a toaster who understands his purpose will never concern himself with boiling water. A kettle who understands his purpose will never concern themselves with making toast. Yeah. So they, I love this thing, I always laugh at it as well. They say, we assign this mystical quality to they, and they say it can't be done. They say you can't do it. That's okay. The trick is, don't listen to them. Listen to your creator and listen to what he's placed inside your heart. Listen to your dreams. Listen to your possibilities. Listen to the needs of people who want what you are creating. Listen to the people who are suffering. Listen to the people who you can see living a better future. And what I find is, the more I listen to my creator, the more I listen to my dreams, the more I become intentional in what I'm doing. Their voices fade away
Wow.
and they
Wow.
start becoming not important,
Wow.
because they will always have something to say. But
Oh,
you have
wow.
to make sure you don't spend so much time listening to them, because guess what? The people who matter don't mind, and the people who mind don't matter.
Don't matter. Wow.
So
Wow.
you've just got to be focused. It's just like that ship example that you gave. You got to keep going to the shore. So yes, you may lose a piece of the boat. You lose the stern. You may lose the bow. You may get there completely different to how you started. But you cannot allow the circumstances, or what I call the cacophony of voices,
Wow.
to dissuade you, to disturb you, or distract you from the journey that you're on. The journey that
Wow.
the one who knows you more than anybody else on this earth can possibly know you has set you up for and set you up on.
Wow.
That's the key.
Now, we have about 4 minutes to go. I
Wow.
know there's still
Wow.
three
Time flies when
points.
you're having fun.
It does. It does. It does. I know we've still got about three or so of your
Mm.
nine, but
Yeah.
let our viewers go to your website or something to get those three. Let's talk about this. If people want to get more, where do they
Mm.
go? What are you doing now that people can interact with and get into?
Yeah. All of this is about having the right heart state, the right mindset, and the right action steps. And I am convinced more than ever that my life turned around when I didn't start thinking. The thinking was brilliant, because if you don't have the right thinking, you don't have the right mindset. And if you don't have the right mindset, you don't know what to do. But everything started come together when I took action. And I can't emphasize the importance of taking action. Stop talking and start doing. Stop praying more prayers and take action on the ones that God has already answered. So, hey, if people want to know more, go to www.experiencegrowth.online. Something I'm doing right now is the 21 Books Challenge, and it's really about helping people to get the right heart state, mindset, and action steps. And here's what happens when we start taking action, and understand, having the right mindset and the right heart state. We start feeling good, we start thinking better, and we start being our very best. And that is what our creator wants, for us to feel good about what he's placed inside of us, to think better about actualizing those things, and to be our very best at doing what we know we ought to do. So yeah, experience growth online. There's some courses there, some books, some fantastic resources that can help us primarily in those three areas: discovering identity, defining intent, and delivering impact. That is what my life and everything that I'm involved in is about. Why do I know this? Because I spoke to my creator, and that is what he said I'm here on earth to do. And listen, the minute I started walking in that, life suddenly made sense, and
Wow.
their voices suddenly didn't matter.
Wow. Wow. This is amazing. Oh, my. Oh, it just feels like we should just have another 1 hour session and just break this thing down a little bit more.
Listen,
Wow. Okay,
if
so
you got another hour, trust me, I can fill it.
experience growth dot
Dot
online.
online.
Experience growth
That's
dot
the website.
online. Well,
Yeah.
you've had it. Experience growth dot online. Please
hmm
go there, get more information on what you've had today. And this is real solid stuff that will change lives.
Thank you, brother.
You know,
Absolutely,
it
absolutely.
it will change lives. It would move people to a completely new dimension
hmm
in what they do. And I remember someone that once talked about this thing, and he said, so many times we're waiting for God to move, and he says, no, God is waiting for you to move. That
God is waiting for
you
us.
take the first step. Once you've taken the
hmm
first step, then heaven says, okay, we see where you're going, and moves, and they help you. And you've just brought all of that together in a
mm
really lovely, positive way. In 20 seconds,
mm.
just leave one last message with our viewers in 20 seconds.
20 seconds. The world is waiting for you. The solutions to some of the entrenched problems in our world is inside your heart and inside your mind. And what you need to do is take action. Stop listening to what's impossible and start thinking about what's possible. You have the very backing of the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one who owns it all. You have his backing. And the evidence of that is he's placed you here on earth to deliver that thing in your heart. Get to it. Don't delay another second. Do it.
Wow. Colin, thank you so
Absolutely
much.
a pleasure, my brother.
What I've always said to our speakers is that this young man here, his middle name is probably Oliver Twist, will be back for more.
There is always more, my brother. It's good.
Absolutely. But thank you so much for this, and I'll join you
Pleasure.
shortly
Absolutely a
in
pleasure.
the studio. Well, you've had it there from Colin. This has been an amazing, amazing session. Please, look, just share this. Just share it. Keep sharing it. Once I get off here now, I'm going to share it across all the channels again. Please listen. This is life changing stuff. And you know what? Now, let me see. I'm not sure if he's still hearing what I'm saying. But he was sounding like somebody that I knew a long time ago. Somebody, he's late now, but Dr. Miles Monroe. Look, that's like a Dr. Miles Monroe in his teaching. That is just solid there. Solid work. All right, so we'll be back on Thursday with Professor Bolaji Akinyemi. We'll be looking at different international events across the world and commentary on that. He'll be taking us through his usual stuff. Now you don't want to miss those sessions. Look, let me just let something out of the bag. The number of people that are now coming to that session, it's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So please join us on Thursday, and on Saturday we'll be back with another episode of the Town Hall. And the Town Hall is where you get to be a part of the program yourself. So thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you've enjoyed that time with Colin as much as I have. And like I said, please do share those videos. See you next time. Bye for now.